Well, for more on this, we're now joined by Opeyemi Akinyode, who's a broadcaster and the head of the political desk for Mainland FM. And as we try to raise him on the line there, just to let you know that this is a huge election that's taking place. 93 million voters that are registered. And just to give you a bit of context, Nigeria alone, the number of people that will be voting is much larger than the 17 other West African countries together voting. So this is a huge election, and one that's going to cost millions and millions. In fact, there's been debate whether there should only be maybe one 7-year term rather than having multiple 4-year terms because of the cost of arranging elections for 93 million people. So 3 people in the running, and this young man, Peter Obi, perhaps may be a surprise, particularly if the young voters do show up. But the election issues, I guess, and we'll be chatting to our guests now, probably the similar stories to other parts of the continent, youth, employment, and with the oil prices coming down, it's been a hard time for the Nigerian economy. But let's find out now from Opeyemi Akinyode, who's a broadcaster and the head of the political desk for Mainland FM. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. One gets a sense that there's something very different about these elections this time around. Is that reading the situation correctly?
Yes. Good evening. Thank you for having me on the show today.
All right. Talk to us about what's different about this election.
A lot of us felt the 2015 election that brought the current president, Muhammadu Buhari, into office was going to be the most important election for us. But events of the last 7 years and a few months have shown otherwise. So this election is not just the regular election. It is an election that is certainly going to, determine the future of this country. If you look at the numbers that we have with INEC at the moment, over 50% of new voters are young people between the ages of 18 and 35. A lot of them are also voting for the very first time. And if you remember the incident of the NSAS protest a few years back, that had a lot of young people, asking for the Nigerian government to put up laws that would end police brutality. And I think we are seeing, a reflection of that in how the people are coming out, coupled with the economic situation of the country. So it's difficult. It's a build-up to one of the most important elections in the modern democratic history of Nigeria. And so the young people are ready to vote. The young people are getting involved. The young people are mobilizing. There's a huge use of social media in this campaign. So in the next 24 hours or thereabouts, Nigerians will go to the polls to elect who would be the next president that will take over from President Muhammadu Buhari by 29th of May. He's going to leave office in 97 days' time. He would have completed his 8 years, 2 tenure as the president of this country. And Nigerians are ready, Nigerians are willing, Nigerians have put a lot into this, and they are ready to vote.
So what is Peter Obi's message that seems to be resonating with young voters?
Well, I think, Peter Obi's emergence in the last 8 months can actually be likened to one of the wonders of the world. For a political class that seems to have been, held together by a group of people over a long period of time. By the way, Peter Obi is not new to the political space in Nigeria. He was the former governor of Anambra State for 8 years, and he was the running mate to the main opposition party, the People's Democratic Party election in 2019. So he's not particularly new to the system. However, if you look at most of the candidates, especially the leading candidates, everyone seems to have 1 or 2 things around them. Peter Obi comes in like a young person. Well, he's not particularly young. He's 61 years of age, by the way. But he's been able to speak to the issues. Nigerians are tired of having to live like second-class citizens in their own country. Peter Obi had brought in some level of sanity into the campaign. He looks refined. He looks like a different breed of politician. And he's had appealed to the young people simply because he's been able to connect with the main issues that the young people are talking about. Fix the education. From 14th of February to 14th of October last year, the Nigerian public universities were shut down because of strike. Peter Obi said he's going to fix it. The scarcity of petrol, Peter Obi said he's going to fix it. The economy is in a bad place. He said he wants to move the economy from consumption to production. So he's been able to relate with a lot of young people, coupled with the fact that he lives a simple lifestyle. I mean, you see him around the people, you see him down into, being able to relate with the regular people on the street. He doesn't move with convoy. He doesn't move with escort. You see him at the airport pulling his own, traveling box by himself. He appeals to the young people like a different kind of politician. And I think that's why his message has been able to, resonate with the minds of a lot of Nigerians, not young people alone, by the way. If you go into the interlands of, the cosmopolitan side of the country, the name of Peter Obi seems to have moved like a wildfire in just 8 months. He left the People Democratic Party 8 months ago, and on the 8th of May 2022, he declared on the platform of the Labour Party to run for the presidency. So it brings dynamics into the election. Gone are those days where we have a two-system in the election. Now we have 3 people, and the election becomes unpredictable.
So in the past, traditionally, and we've seen it come time and time again, is that voting patterns often are influenced by ethnicity, by religion, and tribe even. So I just wonder if this is something that will be part of this election, or because of the number of young voters, are Nigerians starting to move away from these influences?
Unfortunately, the election on Saturday, in about a little over a day time, is going to be characterized by a lot of sentiments, tribal sentiments, religious sentiments, even political affiliation. Now, for the first time in the last 24 years of our democracy, since 1999 till now, we are having the 3 major tribes in the country having front runners on the election. The candidate of the APC, the ruling party, is from the Southwest. He's the former governor of Lagos State. The candidate of the main opposition party is from Adamawa State. That's from the northern part of the country. He was the former vice president of the country from 1999 to 2007. Now there's Peter Obi from the eastern part of the country, a region that had never produced a democratically elected president in this country, a region that had consistently cried for being marginalized. So it comes in from that angle. It's going to be difficult for us to remove the tribal sentiment from the election. However, even the people in the South, in the Southwest, the Yoruba-speaking part of the country, they are really rooting for Peter Obi. He had his final rally in Lagos, and you needed to see the crowd that followed him to the Tafawa Balewa Square, the venue of the rally. So Peter Obi cut across different political spaces, different demographics, old, young, male, female, the elite, the not-so-elite. Everybody seems to have an idea of what Peter Obi wants to do. Tribe will play, religion will play, but then you have a feeling that Peter Obi's got a little advantage because of the fact that a lot of young people are coming into this election and they seem to understand what Peter Obi is saying.
Sadly, in many countries across the continent, the president of the country almost serves at the pleasure of the military and the police. How much influence would someone like Peter Obi, who is perhaps non-traditional, will he have a job on his hands to bring them on side?
I think Peter Obi's presidency, if he eventually wins, is going to be a departure from the regular. We have a structure that seems to find a way of kind of controlling the activities of the president. We have a strong military setup in this country that has influence even in our democratic sector. Remember that the current president is a retired major general. We have a lot of military bigwigs also that are still within the corridors of power. In fact, one of the the chief security officer of the late military dictator, that's Sani Abacha, is actually contesting also on the platform of one of the political parties. So the effect of the military is still strong. Don't forget that this is the longest stretch of democracy we've had. 24 years without any military intervention, no coup. The boys have stayed in the barracks. We've been able to nurture our democracy in our own little way, and we are making steady progress. So Peter Obi's got a lot of job in his hands. But then I think the most important thing for every Nigerian politician is to win the election first. When they win the election, almost like they always say that when we get to the bridge, we'll cross it.
All right, perhaps finally, who do you think is going to win? Might Obi cause an upset?
It's going to be tough. I remember we had this conversation a few weeks ago.
Yes.
The ruling APC has about 22 governors. They have the majority in the National Assembly, both the Senate and the House of Representatives. They have the ministers. They've been able to open up the conversation in respect to their structures. That means even the places that the presidential candidate could not reach, they have candidates in those places. People contesting for the Senate, people contesting for governorship. On the platform, on the part of the PDP, however, the main opposition party, they have a lot of governors in their side as well. But for Peter Obi, he doesn't have any governor on the platform of Labour Party. He doesn't have any senator at the moment. Most of them are still running into office. But then, like we say, the young people are ready to take charge. The young people want to get fully involved. An election is about numbers. Again, you need to get to third majority of the election before you get, announced as the winner. So if Peter Obi is able to hold on to where he's coming from and is able to pick a couple of votes from other regions, maybe 25% in about 18 states, you never can tell.
All right. Well, we'll be watching with bated breath, and no doubt we'll have another conversation in the next few days. But thanks so much indeed for this preview that you've given us tonight. Thank you, my brother.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay. Good night. All right. So Nigerians go to the polls this weekend. That was Opeyemi Akinyode, who's a broadcaster and head of a political desk for Mainland FM. 3 candidates, 2 traditional and 1 youngish candidate at 60 years old, who might cause an upset with the young voters if they all showed up, and they've registered in their numbers. So we'll see what happens on Saturday.